Two. Welcome, everybody. My name is Lauren Brown. I'm your moderator here at healthyseminars.com, and I'm a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine, practice in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, at AcuBalance Wellness Center. And our guest today is Lillian Pearl Bridges, and we're revisiting the rat year. Some of you may remember at the beginning of 2020, Lillian gave us her predictions of the rat. And then we have COVID happening, and so we thought, why not revisit this and just see if it's in the stars and what to expect. So let's have fun today. Before I pass over the torch to Lillian and we get this discussion started, I just want to do some quick housekeeping for those that are new, because there are some new people. This will be really refreshing and new. And for those that have been to many of these, you can probably turn on your mics and do this for us. We have created a resource page for you called Resources. Starting March 24th, we set an intention to create more community in our profession. And so we wanted community to bring people together. And community, unity, immunity. We changed our logo for the time being. And that's why all of our webinars since March 24th have cameras on, because although we're practicing physical distancing, we can still have social innovation and social solidarity. And so it's really nice for us to see each other. And as you know, at the end of the lectures, we open our mics and send gratitude and appreciation to each other and our presenter. And you also get to ask your questions with the microphone by using the digital raise your hand, which is at the bottom of your screen on Zoom. For those that are in the Zoom, we're streaming live on social media as well. So if you're in the Zoom, you can actually ask questions. Just want to give you let you become familiar with the resource page. I really recommend you visit it daily. The link is on the home page on every page. There's a menu bar for it. And then when you scroll down, we have things in categories. So telehealth, we have a whole section of resources on telehealth. If we have any free topical webinars, we list it there. These are all anchored. TCM knowledge and COVID-19 discussions, we put the year of the rat under that. So if you're looking for the replay, that's where it will be. Conscious Tuesday, Throwback Thursday. We have a whole herbal series that's been going on with Sharon Weiserbaum and her group. We've had Deborah Betts, Claudia Sitkovitz, Kate Levitt, Zena Coker, and Emily Solomons doing pregnancy, acupuncture support for women in pregnancy virtually, how to do it through telehealth. And then we still have our upcoming live webinars approved for CUs, and we have a discount, as in the whole site is on sale. And originally, we just decided we wanted to create community, and we wanted to give information that would uplift you. So the very first talk was on Conscious Tuesday. The whole theme is about finding calm in the presence of uncertainty. And then it just ballooned into what we have now, like almost daily, a free resource for you guys since March 24th, almost daily, sometimes 2 a day like today. And if you're looking for what's coming up next, we've just added today the calendar. It used to be a list, so now we have a calendar. So if you're looking to see what's happening, you can go to the calendar. We're going to populate all the old stuff. We haven't done that yet, but some of it's here, but we're going to really populate all the stuff from March 24th to now. So if you're looking for a replay, it'll help you find it. And if it's missing, then you can contact us and ask us when it'll be available again. And you'll see this is grayed out because that's May. So if you want to see what's happening in May, you got to click the next month, and then May 1st and 2nd will populate. Coming back to here we are today on April 27th. So we're on our second talk for today with Lillian. And tomorrow, I really hope you join me for Conscious Tuesday. I'm going to share with you biohacks, basically the science of mastery manifestation, and how to use the neuroscience and how to use consciousness to transform fear and lack into joy and health and abundance. So I'm going to share what I do in my clinic and what I use for myself. Anyways, this calendar is really dandy. And one last thing to share on this, if you're looking for like a section, like you want to find Lillian's talk later, if you click on this, it takes you right down to that section. And if there's replays, it lists it. And if not, see, here's Lillian live. The replay will show up here. So if you click on the replay button, it will take you to where you can find it. So just want to let you know, the resource page is now this is your jumping off place. So I really recommend you check out that page regularly so you can find out what you want to watch or what you may be missing. So I've had Lillian on healthy seminars. Used to be Prody Legacy several occasions. We've sang and danced at Rothenberg. I've known her for a while. I've gotten some of your homemade moonshine when I visited you in Seattle. We go way back, and I want to share with you that just our disclaimer for this talk. We just have to always put it out there because, as you know, Trump said drink turpentine, and people are drinking it, and we're having them in the hospital. So you never know how. I never know how sharp people are on these webinars. So I'm just going to put this out there because, yeah, anything's possible. So this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not medical advice. If you have a health condition, seek out a healthcare provider. This should not be interpreted as medical advice. Again, if you have a health condition, seek out a healthcare provider. We do not endorse what's being said here or Lillian. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Mostly entertainment.
And so I started texting Lillian, and basically I said, "What, Lillian? What the fuck is going on here?" And and this was last week, so here we are. So Lillian, what's going on?
Well, it's interesting because I'm doing an analysis of the elements, and one of the things that I realized is that the elements have a funny way of playing out, and when you look at yang metal with yang water, there's some really interesting things that have happened with it, and we're subject to the interpretation of knowing what's have been happening previously. And when I started writing this back in about November, I think it was, I was aware that there was going to be an epidemic. Rat years are notorious for epidemics because rats go everywhere and they're vectors, they spread things. However, I have to say that I was surprised that this became such a serious thing, not because it's spreading is actually what happens in a yang water year. It's like a tide, the tide goes out and water goes everywhere. The tide recedes too. Unfortunately, the tide will go back out again. So we are going to see ebbs and flows in this particular virus. What surprised me is that I really thought that the immune systems of most people were going to be really enhanced. And I think that's still true. You're going to see that if we could get correct numbers through testing, we would see that a huge number of people have had coronavirus with no symptoms or very, very, small symptoms. And so once we get that information, you'll see that the immune systems of most people are very, very good. But right now we're seeing all the cases where people are, older and or pre-existing conditions. And then one of the other things that surprised me tremendously was understanding what happened in some of the deaths of younger people, and that was the cytokine storms that were happening inside people. What I didn't think about, and I wanted to bring up, is the fact that in some people, their immune systems work too well. So when you have people who have overactive immune systems, it's kind of a problem if they get COVID-19, if they get coronavirus. Otherwise, they'll get allergies, so it's not a good year for allergies or for anybody who has, mast cell activation as I do. So you're going to see that there's a reaction this year. The immune system is going, no, I don't want to do this. So that's actually kind of a mixed message there. But I did take some notes from the forecast, and you got to remember, I'm not an astrologer. My uncle Philip was an astrologer. He died in September, so I didn't get to talk about this one at all. And I am looking at the elements and how they play out. And because we have yang metal over yang water, we're seeing some really interesting stuff. Excuse me, yang water over yang metal, other way around. One of the other things that was really curious is I knew that ships would have a really hard time this year because water is so strong. I had no idea the shipping industry, especially cruise ships, would be in trouble. I also didn't think that airplanes would be taken out of the sky. I mean, there are still some flights going on, but the majority of planes are grounded. And there's yang metal saying, nope, you can't fly either. Like the air and the water are stronger than the human desire to master them. So this year, Mother Nature's in charge, which I did say. And I'm not trying to say I was right or I was wrong or any of that. I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at it as a more informed interpretation because of the things that have happened the first quarter of the year. Okay, so I have to put my glasses on because I can't read without glasses anymore.
Lillian, somebody did comment. You did predict a surge in online business for the middle year.
Yeah.
And look at Zoom, right? Boom, boom.
Yeah. And I have to say, you guys are really technologically advanced. I am so impressed with your system. I just have to say, we need to talk. It's like, wow, you guys are ahead of the curve on this one. The metal stuff is like awesome. Technological stuff for you guys is way ahead of the curve. So one of the things I said was it was a good year for reinvention. What I didn't realize is that a lot of people would have to reinvent. And it's one of those things where the metal element loves free will, loves freedom, and yet we have this idea that we have to, because of forces outside ourselves, have to reinvent ourselves. So I think people are struggling with that a bit, but there is a really strong reinvention, and it's a kind of a new look at how to do things, and that's why the technological stuff is definitely something that we have to all pay attention to. As I said, water, big water, which is young water, is like the ocean, and the ocean has tides. So right now we're in a surge, where stormwater, basically this virus, has taken over the world. It's going to retreat. It is going to retreat because that's what oceans do. It will come back. So you're probably looking at several months of surge, several months coming back, several months of surge again. So please know that this is probably going to happen for most of this year. Okay, so we're going to have to get reinventive because I can't do classes in person. I can't travel to other places, but I can do things online. Not well yet, but I will. And one of the other things that I think is really curious is how much the rat favors the young. As you know, especially as I'm a grandparent and a mother, I'm so thrilled that younger people don't get the virus as well, as easily or as much. I mean, it's not to say they don't get it, by the way, but the young seem to be so much better off. And I think you're going to see a lot of the progressive ideas that come from the Gen Xers, the millennials, the Gen Zs, whatever we're on now. I don't remember anymore. We're going to see some of the ideas that are very progressive actually come out and be um, used in governments. Society will actually alter to listen to the complaints and or the drives of the young. So you might see some really big shifts in things like things that involve social equity, like people who don't have much will get more. You'll see a lot of progressive thought, in terms of healthcare, especially in countries like the U.S., where it's not good. So you're going to see the young are going to have power this year, and they also have more immunity this year, which is great. The There's a couple things that I think are really interesting. I did mention right at the top of my forecast that there would be opportunists um, in full view this year, and I think we've seen that. Here in the U.S. with for those of you who've applied for the PPP, Small Business Administration grants and loans or whatever, you see these really huge corporations taking millions and millions of dollars where the small business owner isn't getting anything. And that's very apparent right now. I don't know how it is in other countries, but we're seeing some real issues with people taking advantage. You're also seeing countries where there's power grabs because of this coronavirus, where especially countries where there's dictatorial leaders, they're taking power and pushing through things that otherwise they wouldn't be able to push through because people are isolated or locked down. That being said, though, there's still going to be a lot of protest. I've seen some in the U.S. here where people have been protesting about the stay-at-home orders, which, by the way, I do think is a good idea. The metal element actually really loves to be by itself or kind of removed from things. So metal, you're going to be a lot healthier if you do stay home, just so you know. But you're going to see that there's some really important values that people are starting to recognize. Now, I did mention this, and I mentioned in light of the military, but I think we have an army of health workers that are doing incredible, tremendous things for society, and they're being given, I think, a lot of the accolades that we need to give them some more support, and definitely understand that they are doing things that other people aren't willing to do. That these values that we have, and I wrote down, I think, honor, courage, duty, respect, service, loyalty, commitment. Oh my gosh, it's like how wonderful that people in the medical field and are doing this, and also the grocery store workers and the delivery people. And I'm not saying that, of course they're getting paid for it too and they need the jobs, but that's not even the point. The point is, oh my gosh, look what they are doing for all the rest of us, And so I'm tipping a lot when my Instacart, delivery guy comes, because he deserves that. He's out fighting, in the world to make sure that I have good food to eat, And so we've got to realize that the real heroes right now are actually the people who are on the front lines, and especially the people who are whose wages were lower. I don't think we ever appreciated that before, and I think, or enough. I think that's the key, enough. And I also think that hopefully we will start realizing how valuable the teachers are. For any of you who are trying to do homeschooling, which, by the way, is very hard, you're going to see that teachers deserve so much more, in terms of pay, in terms of recognizing their value, and they're trying to do schooling online. And what an interesting time in the world, So I think that's really important. And I think one of the other values that metal that I would like to bring up is it's about fairness right now. And a lot of people are seeing this inequality and this need for fairness that the most Western countries don't have. This is not a time where money's going to buy you all the good things in life, and you're going to be protected from the coronavirus. This is a time where you have to protect yourself, first of all, but second of all, we're seeing that people who don't have enough need to be helped, and I think that's really cool. Are there any questions so far, Lauren? Are we good? Okay, so I think fairness is a value that I didn't add enough, and I want to bring that up. I also mentioned that the seeds of future revolutions start in the rat year, and I'm seeing the seeds. I'm seeing them, especially this area that I just mentioned of social inequality. Things have to change. They have to change, and I certainly wouldn't say that we're all the same, but we all have human bodies, and we all have similar reactions to the way that we live. But I will say that we're not seeing the equality in who's got food to eat and who's got healthcare. So we're going to see some really big things happen in the next longer than a decade, probably the next 12 years. I think you're going to see some huge things. Remember, when you go back 12 years, 24 years, 48 years, you're going to see the similarities. And when you look back at 19, I think what was it, 19, was it the early 60s, right? That's when the revolution happened in terms of women's liberation. And there's a lot of things that happened then in terms of especially the civil rights movement, which was like wonderful. And you're going to see that there are going to be movements probably about rights, the rights of people who are disenfranchised and underrepresented. So that's kind of cool. I think we're going to also see that people who stand in the light of their own truth. I love that phrase. One of my favorite phrases. People who stand in the light of their own truth will become heroes this year. And I'm seeing it in some world leaders. I think that's really cool that we're seeing people who are willing to buck the system to take care of people. I think they're willing to stand up for what they believe in is the best for the people they care about, which is their constituents. I mean, I'm seeing some really wonderful world leaders in the US and state governors. I'm seeing just, wow, some people with real honor, and that's something that I'm really happy about. I also have to say that we're going to value people who overcome obstacles and have a lot of resilience and recover. I mean, recover whether it's financially or physically because they got sick. And you're going to see that the new hero are people who've recovered. Whatever kind of recovery there is, we're going to see that as the new hero. And I think that I thought it was going to be the Olympics, which is going to happen next year, which unfortunately is not going to be as easy for the athletes because the ox year is not the same as the rat year. But that we'll leave that aside. I just think that the new heroes have something to show us about how to recover, how to be resilient in hard times. And that's interesting. I also have to say that, we still have to be prepared for other things that are going to happen. I think the news has so been taken over by the coronavirus that we forget that other things are going to happen too. And I want to warn you a little bit about that. Um, this is a year of extreme weather. And some of it's already happened. There's already been some flooding incidents, but it's going to get much worse than that. And because metal pushes into water and water pushes into wind, there's going to be a lot of wind-based storms, which could be tornadoes, which have already started happening, could definitely be hurricanes, which haven't started fully yet. I think there's one cyclone starting. And of course, water is going to be involved with that wind, and wind and water together, they're huge, So please be aware that we may have some really big storms, and we may have some really big flooding. And if you get ready now, I know that sounds a little bit strange, but you might want to do sandbags now. I really think that we should be careful about if we're not prepared for some things that may come. And mind you, these may come later in the year. They might come in the fall, especially because of metal. They may come in that early winter, like December, January of next year, before the next year of the ox starts. But you just have to know that there's going to be other big things that are going to happen. And we did see, I'm seeing someone writing here, we did see some storms. There's bigger ones, and especially really cold ones. Like, oh my goodness, you got to be careful of cold weather at the end of this year. So, or if you're in New Zealand and Australia, coming in a few months, it's not going to be I'm not saying it won't be warm in places, because there's extremes this year, but definitely there's going to be a lot of cold in places, and there'll be a lot of big storms, avalanches and things, for example, caused by huge amounts of snow, and especially things like nor'easters with storm surges and flooding of rivers and things, which have already happened some. Yeah, and so that one I've done. Also, too, in Chinese medicine, respiratory viruses are considered wind cold. There's a really interesting thing about how the immune system, the way qi, is a defensive qi, and it puts energy all through the body, defensive energy all through the body, and really we should be better this year in terms of immunity. I want to recommend deep breathing, really, really deep breathing, because we need to make our lungs like so strong that we're so oxygenated that the oxygen goes all the way to the extremities. And so this is where you really want to move the oxygen. And someone asked about wildfires. I'm sorry to say, because fire is there's not enough fire to stop fires. Okay, fire. In order to stop a forest fire, for example, they often have already burned a patch to keep the fire from going over that burned patch already. Because we don't have enough fire to fight fire, yes, unfortunately, we are going to have fires. Okay, but there are enough storms that I think that if fires start, that they might be able to get put out also. So I'm not so worried. This is, I mentioned before, a year of protests, and I have to say, I think that we need to take a look at our own liver qi and how it's reacting to confinement. I think the biggest problem that I'm seeing right now is that people with strong liver qi are going, I want out of here. It's like, find projects to do, and I also had mentioned how, you need to have natural movement this year. Well, I have to say, natural movement is going to happen because we don't have machines so much. People can't go to the gym as often. So walking is now considered, in my opinion, probably the best exercise to do, because it's the easiest to do for people who have liver qi stagnation. So just be aware of that. It's also a year of reunions. My other favorite phrase, it's a phrase from my family, is all rivers become one ocean. I love that phrase. And it does show how we're all interrelated and connected. And I have to say, one of the things that amused me is how many people I know are having their kids come home, from college. Even adult kids are coming home and living at home, and people are isolating together. And that's actually what the saying means, is that people come back, and that's cool. People are sheltering together. I have one friend who thinks it's great because she and her friends got together and they're all hanging out. So that's kind of cool. People, separate people come together. So there, there are a lot of people in power who are behaving badly. And I have to say, their behavior is showing. They can't hide it. And I'm sorry to say, I personally find it very amusing. I think there's a question there. I think someone asked something.
We have a couple of questions, so if you want,
Oh, okay.
if you're,
All
you
right.
want to finish your thought about the.
Yeah, I just saw the raising hand. Oh, I I have to say, bad behavior, especially hypocrisy, is going to get called out this year. So let's watch and see what happens. Yeah, go ahead.
Linda, you should have mic rights.
I should have what?
Linda, I'm telling Linda, the
Oh,
delegate, she can say something. We'll be able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Hi, Lillian.
Hi.
Um, what caught my attention was the yang water, and that we can kind of predict maybe there'll be the ebb and the flow. And I couldn't help but think of the moon as
Yes.
we cycle
Yes.
with the ebb and the flow
Yes.
and counting 12. And so I was wondering if there were any particular months in the moon cycles
Yeah.
that we could zero in on.
I
Thank you.
wish I could. I wish I could answer that. Because I don't do Chinese astrology. This is where you have to talk to someone who does that, because I absolutely know that they will be able to tell you which months are the most dangerous, which months are the most advantageous. All I know is I'm seeing a particularly strong flow right now, and I think we're going to see a pullback in the early summer. I think we're going to see another flow back in the fall. Unfortunately, the fall winter might be like a super flow. That's my only concern. Then we'll see a pullback again. I mean, in terms of prediction, I'll be really, really clear with all of you. The way that I see this is that this year, nothing is going to go back to normal, whatever normal is. I mean, nothing's going to go back to normal. We'll have a new normal, but I think that next year we'll have a chance to start over again. We've got to remember next year is an ox, and an ox is the animal that plows the field. And when you plow the field, you plant the seeds. And you plant the seeds, and there's new growth. And if you look at a couple of years coming out, after next year, which is, I think it's Yin water, over, I think it's over Young Earth, you're going to have 2 years of wood. People are going to work really, really hard. And then we have fire in the economy, and the stock market goes back up. It starts getting really volatile again. So frankly, people should invest now. That's my, if you like the stock market. Okay, and wait for the housing market to go down, because Earth is weak. We can buy property as well. So this is actually a really good time for investors. Okay, so there is ebbs and flows in that, but it's not quite there yet for the housing market. It is there for the stock market to buy. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Hope that helps.
We have Kathleen. So
yeah,
Kathleen, you should have mic right.
Hi, Lillian.
Hi.
So, thank you so much.
Sure.
Wonderful. I appreciate you and Lauren for doing all this. As you know, our profession has gotten hit hard with having to close our offices and no financial aid and all.
I know.
And now we got to get restarted, and that's going to be an uphill climb because, obviously with people, so many people impacted, us being in a recession, and we're
Right.
out of pocket expense for folks who don't have insurance. So I'm wondering, have you thought about that when you're doing your predictions? And do you have anything to say for us as far as
I will say, I still think that acupuncture in particular will be very benefited by what's happening this year, because you're working with metal. I think as soon as we start lifting some of these bans, and social distancing and all that, I think people will start flocking to alternative medicine. I think they're going to really realize, oh my God, I've got to get ready and get prepared. So I still think that this particular medicine that we're all in is going to get benefit from it. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. And of course, the ones who are doing the best right now are doing telemedicine, or they're dropping off herbs, outside their clinic for people to pick up. And I mean, we're having to get adaptable, but I still think that acupuncture is benefited this year. I do. I really do. And so I know it's hard right now. Oh, my goodness, it's hard. But I also think that people will start to value it. The people who have had acupuncture, for example, won't get sick, and they'll go, wow, I didn't get sick. It must be because I was ready to, my immune system was ready to handle something, right? We're going to start seeing that pretty soon. Right. And there's some famous people who are getting sick who are crediting alternative medicine as the reason why they're maintaining their good health. So or figuring out that they can get over something better. So I think you're going to be okay. I'm hoping, I'm praying for all of you that you'll be okay. But I have a feeling it's going to get better, especially probably about June. Okay. So just get ready, because I think June you'll start seeing, as the coronavirus pulls back, I think you're going to start seeing the medicine improve. Okay. And this is a good year for science. As you see, finally, people are paying attention to scientists, to research, to doctors. They're also paying attention to climate change. I mean, look how the Himalayas are being seen for the first time in God knows how many years. So people are actually recognizing there's a climate change problem, right? Which people are paying attention to science, which makes me kind of happy. And I still say Chinese medicine is really ancient science, but it's science. So it's part of that group. Okay. So we'll all hope for the best here. Okay, Lauren, anybody else? Thank you.
Yeah, so reminding you guys, if you have a question, raise your hand, because in the chat, it's a little bit hard to follow. There's a lot of chat. So
yeah,
please do that. And then Lillian, hold on. I'm just checking something here for you and I to have a smile. And our friend, if I believe what I'm seeing, she's going to kill me, but hold on. Our friend. Okay, so this is the year of technology. You know who's in the room with us?
Who?
Wills.
Sabina? I owe her a phone call. Hey, I have to tell you something funny. So I gave Sabina a book about foraging in the Northwest when she moved up here. And she finally told me that the foraging book is being used by her. She's a fantastic forager. She's found like fiddlehead ferns. I mean, the Northwest is great for foraging. And that's actually that adaptability of the year of the rat. It's like, you're supposed to be adaptable. You should be going outside picking dandelion greens. It's like, this is a year for like getting really adaptable about food. It's like, I'm so happy that Sabina is using that book now. I gave it to her a couple of years ago.
Adaptability is the key, right? Because when you have a pandemic or a crisis, if you're stuck in the old, and there's going to be a whole new way.
Yeah. And the rat is one of the most adaptable creatures on the planet. Now, mind you, that being said, I remember watching something in the news, because I get amused by things that happen. Like, and these are not good things, I'm sorry to say, but I just thought, well, last year, like a lot of the pigs in China had, an infection or whatever. And this year, the poor rats, I'm sorry to say, I don't really love rats, but the rats are having trouble getting food because restaurants are closed. So they're very adaptable, and they'll find new ways to go. So you're seeing rats in the park. It's like, oh, geez, they're adaptable. And that's what we have to model ourselves after, the energy of the animal. So next year we're going to plow the fields. This year we're going to run around looking for food the best we can, and looking for work the best we can, and to be adaptable. And technology is it right now. I mean, much as I find technology sometimes, I think draining is the right word. I know it's invaluable right now, and we're having a lot of reunions in my master face reading program. All the students are getting together. It's like, oh, it's so nice to see you, across the world. And you're doing here too, these amazing reunions, which is all rivers become one ocean. Okay, so that's really cool. Okay,
I have a question for you, and then Susan has a question.
Sure.
Can you guys unmute? Oh, Susan's unmuted. Susan, go ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay.
And forgive me, I had to go offline for a minute. So if you already answered this question, I'm curious as to what in the world of feng shui would explain that the younger people who you explained are, more resilient. They are, however, getting more cardiac and neurological.
That one is the one that I'm really interested. I think it's that fire that's so weak this year that it can't prevent some things that normally would be prevented. That's the only thing I can think of. I've been looking at that going, what in the world is going on? These strokes that they're having, or these cardiovascular, like heart attacks. And it's like, what is that? I just know that fire is very weak. Mm-hmm. And so fire fights fire, and there's not enough fire to fight the firestorm that's happening inside. And that's like, oh, that's what bothers me, But overall, we got to remember, the majority of people, I say 90-some%, have strong immune systems this year. And so we're going to see the numbers show up eventually, going, wow, this was only maybe 2 or 3% as infectious, instead of like what we're thinking is 13%. I mean, it might be more than that, it might be 5 or 6, but I'm just saying, once we know like who all has had it, I think we're going to see that the immunity is actually very good this year. And we're lucky that we got this virus this year. It could be so much worse in other years. Just want you to know that. I know it sounds weird, but it's lucky. It's like so lucky. Yeah. Not for the people who get sick and die, though. I'm sorry to say, it's like, that's sad, but that's life, unfortunately. Yes, Lauren. Anybody? Thank you, Susan. Lauren, anybody else?
Kristen, you should have mic rights.
Hi, yes. Hi, Lillian. Thank you so much for all of these great insights. I had my camera off because I've got a lot going on in the house in the background. I am curious, you mentioned real estate, and I'm curious, I was supposed to be putting my house on the market this
Right.
month, and it now is going to have to go on the market in a couple weeks. I'm
Right.
curious if you have any additional insights about real estate, or if there's any.
Yeah, real estate's still going to sell. I mean, it's not as easy. I mean, here in the state of Washington, where I'm in Seattle, they are allowed to show houses, and they're allowed to. I mean, residential real estate agents are still allowed to work. They're considered essential because housing is essential. But I have to say, and I was talking to my daughter-in-law's parents who are in the business. They said it's still going strong. So I have to tell you, I don't think real estate is a problem. You're going to see investors coming in more, though. That's the one thing. So I don't think you're going to have a problem selling your place, honestly. So
Okay. And
good luck with that.
Thank you. Anything you would say, any extra tips in terms of feng shui or colors or anything to kind of offset?
You know, there are colors that are better this year, and I cannot remember what they are. There are colors for the year of the rat, and if I could remember them, I'd tell you, but I can't remember. You might want to look it up. I know there are definitely colors for the year of the rat. Okay, so that's cool. All right, Lauren, I'm going to talk a bit more. Thanks. Good luck. Okay, in selling your house. Another thing that's really important this year is ethics, people doing ethical business practices. So I think that that's something that we should be aware of, that we need to act ethically. I'm sure most of you do, but it's going to be noticed if you don't. That's one of the things. That's why I think we're seeing those people who, the big companies that grabbed all that money are now giving it back, because it shows that there's greed there, and greed's not a good trait this year. It's not a good year for accumulating wealth for anybody except the lucky ones this year, which happen to be, I think, dragons and monkeys and ox. So that's actually interesting. And we'll be really aware of how corrupt some governments and some companies are, and we'll start seeing that, and that will change people's perceptions. But I think we're going to have to look at recognizing what's of value. Metal is all about value, and we are being given a chance to recognize what's most important. And it's kind of funny because I'm very much of an introvert when I'm not teaching. I like to stay home. I'm actually really enjoying staying home, I have to say. And I don't think it's hard at all, actually, to stay home. I only wish I could get my hair cut. But other than that, I'm doing great. And I love my friends. And of course, I love my family. And I actually am in more contact with my friends and family than before. I've had more Skype conversations, more Zoom conversations. I am actually recognizing how valuable my friends and family are. And the one thing that I miss besides getting a haircut is I miss hugging. I wish I had people to hug. I always hug my students, they hug me, and especially my Mexican students. If I need really good hugs, sometimes I'll fly to Mexico because they're wonderfully affectionate, people. But the thing is, that's what I miss. And it makes me realize how much I miss that human contact that I could get easier when I wasn't staying home alone, right? So we'll see that as well. Let's see what else. Okay. Oh, here's something that's interesting. I've seen a lot of, which I find amusing, and it's happened with me as well. I've been so busy, as everybody else has been. And when we get still enough, one of the things you can't escape from is all the stuff you're running from, whether it was a difficult relationship or it was your trauma from the past that you haven't addressed. And I had a lot of death last year, and my mother and my uncle and my aunt all died. Then my dog died about a month ago. I've had a lot of grief that I didn't do. I was very good at avoiding it. And then all of a sudden I get still. It's like, oh dear, I'm feeling it now, and oh man, do I want a puppy? I want a puppy really bad right now, because I want something to hug. So I'm looking for a puppy. I'm thinking, should I fly a puppy across the country if I find a good breeder? I have to say, I'm having to deal with my grief, and I don't want to, frankly. I mean, I do want to do it. I just don't want to do it big. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, okay, which therapist can I call and have a session with? Because I got to deal with my stuff, and this is why I said psychology, depth psychology, especially psychiatry. Look, that's another profession that's kind of booming right now. We all need some help. It's like we need to deal with our stuff, whatever stuff that you haven't dealt with. And I think that's important to realize. It's like, oh, yeah.
We don't have our identity. People will identify with their work and their value with the work. And now they don't work. So now they have to deal with themselves, right?
Yeah. It's like, I know you have to remember that we have to work on self-esteem here, because metal is all about having full lungs, which is also a metaphor for being, sure of yourself, right? And having self-esteem. And if your entire identity is tied into working and you're not working as much, are you valuable? Like, are you really like of value? And then you have to say, well, yeah, I deserve to be here and breathe this air. And I think that's actually something we're all confronting, because we're not working in the same way. Okay. So I think there's probably some more questions, Lauren, if you want to ask me.
Yeah,
we have to confront old trauma right now. I'm sorry, but we have to confront old trauma.
And in my practice, I do a lot of belief change modalities with my acupuncture now. It's just
Right.
aligned. That's been the popular part. By the way, that's what I'm doing tomorrow, letting you how to confront your dark side.
Cool.
Bring light to it. That's what it's fun.
That's what we need right now. We have to look at that stuff because it's really important. So yeah.
All right, let's. I've lost the ability to unmute people, guys. So can you unmute Sarah for me, please?
Can you hear me?
I can. Hi.
Oh, good. Hi. I have actually a question for a friend who was not able to attend today.
Okay.
And she is in her 60th year
Uh-huh.
and is having a very difficult year.
Yeah.
And just wants to know, anything you might have to say about being a natal metal rat in a metal rat year. And
luckily for her, I mean, most rats are having a really hard time, including the live ones, right? And you get some benefit because it's your 60th year, and so you don't get as much of the heavy stuff in your rat year, but you're still going to have stuff, because you're in penalty a little bit, right? You're like in the penalty box in hockey, right? So the thing is, all I can tell you is this too shall pass, and the thing is, because she's metal, she'll actually be benefited, because that's why you get benefit in your own year, because you have the elements of this year, and the metal part especially, she's going to be okay. She's really going to be okay. So people who have a lot of metal this year, a lot of water in their natal astrology, will do really, really well. But I got to tell you a funny thing. This is a really funny thing. One of my least favorite sayings when I was a child that my mother used to tell me when I was growing up, I'd say, "Mom, I'm bored," and she'd go, "Boredom is a sign of good luck." And I just kind of go, oh. And I remember that in my ear, like right now, because she said, boredom is good luck, because boredom means that you have choices. And when you're bored, you can choose to do whatever you want. It's when you don't have any choices that you're not free. So for all of us who are feeling bored, wow, you have good luck. You can do a puzzle, you can read a book, you can talk to a friend on Skype, And I just keep thinking, Mom, I hate that saying, but it's so true. And I said it to my kids too, by the way. Here's what those mothers saying. Boredom is good luck. So I was like, yeah. So here I am, a monkey, supposedly having really good luck. And guess what? I'm sleeping well. I'm eating well. I'm communicating with my friends and family. And I'm bored sometimes. I'm in good luck. Oh, joy. So those of you who have bad luck, it means you're going to work more than me. So don't feel bad. Okay. Making money is actually bad luck. I know that sounds really strange, but you'll gain your health this year if you take good care of yourself. Okay. Thank you. Sure.
All right. Let's bring up Janet and Lillian. Are you so you're a monkey?
Yes, I am.
I'm a monkey too.
Can't you tell? Yeah. And so Sabina. Okay. So are you a monkey?
I'm a monkey as well.
Oh yeah, join the monkey club. Yay. Okay.
All right, Janet, you should have mic rights.
Shelley's a goat monkey too. Yay, Shelley, join the club. Okay.
Hi, Lillian.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Any advice for those of us who are in long distance relationships through this whole thing?
Oh God, I can't even imagine right now. I guess you're going to have to learn how to do a kind of intimacy that you're supposed to be doing, which is called pillow talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow.
Really?
Yes, it's like you used to have like Doris Day and Rock Hudson on the phone talking in the pillow, right? Now you have to do it on Skype or Zoom or something. It's like, my God. I have to say, you're probably going to learn a lot about each other having these like conversations. It's definitely a year of conversations. I mean, It's a really good year for sex, though. When you get together, I promise you, it's a great year.
Please.
Yeah, it's a great year for sex. It's not the best year for relationships. It's the best
No.
year for sex.
Uh-huh.
I find really funny. It's like, oh my God. Anyway, so next year, very
Next year.
good for flirting and relationships. So yeah, next year has a lot of peach luck in it. So probably because we finally get to be in personal contact with each other.
Yeah, right, yeah.
What is that about? Good luck. Yeah, a lot of conversations.
Good for sex, not good for relationships. So basically, are you saying relationships are how you kill a good sex drive, good sex life?
I don't want to comment on that, actually. You know, no, I just know that in the charting, you know, when I was working on this like last year, I realized, wow, it's a great year for sex. You know, great year for having babies too. And I think having babies actually kind of mutes the sex drive, maybe for some people. Sometimes it makes it stronger. But I do know it's a very good year for getting pregnant. Oh my gosh! I mean, for your business especially, great year for getting pregnant.
Calling the baby colonials.
There will be a baby boom from sheltering in place. Let me tell you. Wait.
Sandra, I have a question for you. Sandra, I know YouTube you would shut us down when we said the word COVID. We just said sex 3 times in a row. Does that? Do we get flagged for that? Let's give Sandra mic rights and let's see what her question is. Sandra, you could have.
Who?
Sandra Gray. That would be you.
That's you. That's you. Hi.
Hi, Lillian. Thank you. This is so much fun.
I wanted it to be.
I wanted to ask a question about spirituality.
Yeah.
I mean, that I'm part of an online meditation center.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And people, like thousands of people, are meditating together.
I know, it makes me so happy.
They're going to a higher level. I can't believe how deep a meditation is on Zoom. And these are people all over the world. So
that makes me so happy because you see, metal is really good for meditation, and water is that universal kind of.
Universal.
And it's also like metal is also like the sky and the cosmos. It makes me really happy to hear that because I think spirituality is tremendously enhanced by the elements of this year. And it's like, it's so cool to see that. I mean, I am meditating every day, actually a couple times a day. I'm doing lots of deep breathing exercises. That's the one thing I'm doing, even though it's pollen season. Oh, anyway, but the thing is, I think this is a tremendous opportunity to enhance spirituality. So I thank you for that positive thing because I love that. I love that we're doing like meditation around the world together and prayer together. And it's like, oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I wanted to bring up a couple more things before we open questions again, Lauren, if you don't mind. I have to say that one of the most important things you can do this year is Yunxiang. Okay, please. If you are part of Chinese medicine, you have to know that the fundamental basis of our medicine has to do with Yunxiang. You know, it has to do with things like going to bed every day at the same time and waking up every day at the same time and eating every day at the same time and doing your movement, natural movement, and doing your well, all the things that support your body and the health. That too, though, don't forget, we're supporting the spiritual part of itself. So thank you for that so much. I think we have to really practice Yunxiang. This is what we need to do this year. And I think we're going to see people recognizing something important. First of all, I want to say, just because you're over 60 doesn't mean you're in poor health, okay? I just want to say that. A lot of people who are 85 are healthier than me. So it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the health of the state of your health. And I think this is a year where we're starting to recognize how important it is to take care of our health. It's like people who have underlying conditions aren't doing very well. And those of us who've avoided that by doing Yunxiang are doing really well. So I want to emphasize Yunxiang. Yunxiang means nourishing life. And I think that, well, it's the second half of page 1 of the Neijing, the Emperor's Classic, and the top half of page 2. It's the same information we've always had. And that's why we need to do these things that are natural about keeping the body together, right? To keeping our immune system really healthy. And of course, there's certain foods that are better than others for immunity and all that, but I'm not going to go there right now. I will say that I think food is very important. That brings me to a not so good point, and that is this is a year of food insecurity and also potential famine. Years ago, I had a vision of a lot of natural disasters happening, all of which have happened except for the locusts, which took a while to happen. And they happened a few years ago, they're happening again. There's locusts all over Africa. It's unbelievable that we're not paying more attention to the fact that locusts are swarming like crazy. And the other thing is we have food distribution problems, which I think technology should be able to solve in about 6 months, or hopefully less. But farmers aren't getting the food to market because the restaurants aren't buying, and they're closing down meat processing plants. So we're seeing a lot of food insecurity. And you've got to remember that Earth is weak this year, which is why we have food insecurity. But metal is strong. Metal is the person who prepares for emergencies. They have enough firewood to last for the whole winter because they have the sense of self that says, I want to survive this winter so I can live another year to do my work. And so people who are metallic are automatically going to have things stored. I've stored food most of my life. I have enough food to feed a lot of you at my house for a long time. Dried grains and dried pulses and beans and all that. We need to store food. I'm just going to tell you flat out, please understand, you need to store food this year. It's going to get tricky later in this year when we have distribution problems. Now, it'll open back up. There's plenty of food, but there's places that don't have plenty of food. So I would love to see, food reaching, for example, Africa that needs it, where they're having such a hard time with the locusts. So that being said, if you do have good food, great, and be adaptable about what you eat. So you can't have what you want tonight. Have something else that's good for you, And so I just want you to be aware that food is extremely important this year. Let's see what else I want to say. Yeah, I did food insecurity. That's there. Let's see what else. Oh, and you're supposed to be omnivorous and flexitarian this year. That's why I wrote that on there. Oh, and don't forget, there's still earthquakes and there's still volcanoes, because fire went underground and it got trapped in the dog year. And then now it's trying to come back up again, right? And so you're going to see that there will be those things still happening. And there's been more earthquakes in California this year than in a while, because I'm from California. And I don't want to make that sound dangerous, but I'm just going to say the next couple of years until, I forget what year it is, we get fiery again. I think it's 2025. I think 2025. We're going to see a progression of this happening. Okay, so I kind of expect to see some tsunamis from earthquakes. Just be aware of that. Well, hopefully not, but maybe. And I mentioned people will be less optimistic about the economy. Well, since the economy of many places has tanked, definitely we're less optimistic. I just have to say. But I actually think that there's some interesting things coming out of that. And I think that we'll understand that some things are more important than others in terms of the economy. So we will have some important lessons this year that will help us. Another thing that I think is really interesting is this coordination between governments and governments like the EU or in the US, for example, we're seeing governors of several states banding together to decide when to open up. That's kind of cool. Think about this, that we, like where I live in Seattle, we have Oregon, Washington, and California joining together to decide how to navigate this next period of time. We have in the East Coast, I think we have New York and Connecticut and New Jersey, and I forgot who else is involved, but there's a group of states that are banding together. That's cool. That's actually cool to see that kind of cooperation. So, and the Midwest, oh, thank you. The Midwest is doing it also. I think the Southern states might have also come up with that, but I don't remember who's involved in that one yet. So that's kind of cool. And let's see what else. Oh, one thing that I thought was really, really funny is I said distillation would be good this year. And all these distilling companies are making hand sanitizer now. I thought that was really funny. I don't know, it makes me laugh. Okay. And even though there's tremendous amounts of fear this year, the water element should actually calm that fear down. We shouldn't be as fearful as we are. Honestly, we need to manage fear. Water people can manage fear really well. They feel it. Of course they feel it. It's their emotion. But we should be able to calm fear down. And those of you who are watery, who are wise, who are old enough to have lived through stuff before, right? It's like we need to help other people not be fearful. That's one of the things I think that Yang Water is about. And then the other part is that yang metal. There's a lot of grief right now, and we're grieving for a lot of people who have died. Well, I still have to say, and please forgive me for this one, but people die when they're supposed to die. And yes, of course you have to grieve personal losses. Absolutely. I'm doing it right now. But we shouldn't grieve for everybody that's dying, because it's not, we don't know them. And I think we can do things to help people who have had people die. If you have friends who are going through grief, you can help them talk about it. You can, send them food. I mean, there's good stuff that we can do to help other people, but we have to actually use our yang metal to get into gratitude, and then help other people compensate for the grief that they're feeling, because grief's huge this year. But we have so much strength in metal and also water, that we should be able to manage grief and fear better. Okay, so this whole thing about staying home and being alone and then wanting to get out and see people. When I wrote that, I thought, what am I talking about? Like, why am I writing that? And then I realized, of course, we have this issue now because we're told we have to stay home, and yet we want to see people and we have to stay home. It's such an interesting time, but I still have tremendous faith that we're going to come out of this better. And I really believe that the majority of people in the world are going to be okay, the great majority, and especially all of us who do practice Yunxiang already. So, Lauren, I'd like to leave it open to some more questions, since we're getting close to the cutoff time. Yeah.
And I want to just mention that so many practitioners are doing telehealth, and so your tools of facial diagnosis has been really helpful for those doing telehealth, because it's another thing that patients like, right? You can sit there, and it's now you don't have the pulse to work with. You don't get their face. So
yeah, it's the looking diagnoses are really good right now. It's like, that's why you look at the tongue, you look at the face, and you look at things. And people who are reflexologists, they look at the feet. I had someone send me a foot picture. I go, I don't read feet, but it's really interesting. You know what I mean? It's like the looking diagnosis is really valuable right now. And that's why when water pushes into, when metal pushes into water and water pushes into wood, that's why vision's so important right now. And hopefully, because it's 2020, our vision will improve. That would be like all kinds of vision, like seeing into and beyond, like the third eye stuff, as well as using vision as, in telemedicine, because we need to use the looking diagnosis. So yeah, thank you for that plug.
So Lillian has a books out, and Lillian has a course.
I have a cookbook too.
And then on Healthy Seminars, our coupon, the 25% coupon until April, will apply on hers. And then your student, your protege, C.T. Holman, has put a ton of courses out, and he has one this weekend on facial diagnosis for
he's awesome, especially for the trauma piece, all that stuff that's coming up right now. Oh my gosh, we need to get that stuff.
Because I know our patients already, when you start to look at some of the facial stuff, the fertility, the philtrum, and they like it. Patients,
that's cool.
That you have another thing to work with them. Yeah. Let's open up the mic for Heike, please.
Evening. My name is Heike. I'm from Germany. And I'd like to mention that I think I combine Chinese medicine with psychosynthesis. And psychosynthesis is an approach in transpersonal psychology.
It's great stuff.
That's really great stuff. And I think what is a wonderful year today is if you have such a young tune, you have to look at the yin.
Yes, absolutely. You take care of it. Yeah.
If you have the yin with yin fear and yin grief, I think you have to look inside.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what you're supposed to do. And by the way, you have the most beautiful money bags I have seen in a long time. Everybody look at that. I want to look like that. Okay, that's beautiful. She's breathing deeply. She's very healthy. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. You made my day. No, my yeah. So what I would like to say is this year might be wonderful to transform.
Exactly.
Into gratitude, into value, and deep fear into wisdom.
This is the year.
This is the year, I think so. But what we have to do is, in my opinion, to look after real and good function togetherness, not
Yes, I agree.
not to be superficial.
No, go deep. Water goes deep.
Go deep.
Go down there and
go
do that
really
stuff.
as deep as possible.
Oh God,
And say yes. Yeah, and I think it's so important to say yes.
Yes,
to
I agree.
all that is,
yes.
And to accept it, and
Thank
then
you.
it will turn from the inside to the outside.
Thank you. I agree. I've got to do more grief work, but I'm not going to cry in front of any of you. Okay. Thank you so much, Heike. But, yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
Next will be Susan. Can we unmute Susan, please?
Yes, hi. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you talking a little bit about the emotional aspects, because I think I'm seeing that a lot. I'm a yoga teacher and herbalist and Chinese astrologer.
Yoga is great this year. Flexibility. Oh my God, yoga is so good. We should all be doing like yoga teachers online and doing it at home.
I've been doing really well. I've just got a small studio here in East Vancouver, but people are very receptive to what I'm doing, and I've been here 14 years and it's going well. But my question for you today is about vaccination. So where we're seeing this year as yang metal and a lot of widespread virus and lung disease, do you think that the yin metal next year will bring a vaccination, or do you have any thoughts on that?
You know, I think vaccinations would very much qualify as a yin metal thing. You know, it's pharmaceutical, which is very metallic, and it's a yin pharmaceutical. It's basically a dead virus. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not a live virus thing. So yeah, I'd see that. Yeah, I have to say though, we've got to remember that coronavirus is actually in the same family as the common cold, and the common cold mutates very rapidly. And we've also heard things like, oh, wow, people in New York got the Italian version of the virus and people in Seattle got the Wuhan version of the virus. We're going to see a lot of morphing by this virus. And I don't know that you're going to be able to find a virus that treats all of it, just like the common cold. But luckily, I think eventually this particular virus may end up being more like the common cold than you think, you know, because I don't like the word herd immunity. It's like, please stop telling me I'm part of a herd. You know, I want to be a goat that goes up the mountain. That's for you, Sabina, not the sheep that go over the cliff. You know, so I'm not fond of that term at all. But I do think at some point, it's not going to be as dangerous or scary. It's new because it's a new cycle. It's a 12-year cycle, right? So I expected something, and I knew it was there. I saw it when I was writing my forecast. But I just kept thinking, our immune systems are so strong. If your immune system is really strong, I don't think you need a vaccine. That's all I have to say. You don't need a vaccine. Because what's it for? It's going to make you less prepared than more prepared. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to say I'm anti-vaccine because people, you know, want to do it, and that's great. I'm just saying the most important thing is you develop your own immunity, like your really strong immune system. And I think food's one of the best ways to do it, and breathing and moving, all the stuff that you guys are involved in. So I think our medicine, our natural medicines are just the way to go. That's me personally. Okay. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Lauren.
Well, we're going to bring up Sarah again. And I'll remind people, this is for educational and entertainment purposes. We don't endorse whether Lillian says to vaccinate or not to vaccinate.
I'm not going to say that. People want to, they go ahead and do it. And if they don't want to, they don't have to do it. That's the way I'd like to see it. Yeah.
Sarah, you should be back on mic.
Hi again. Yes.
Hi.
You know, you had said that the rat year was a good year. Well, not a good year, but a year for seeding revolutions. And I was wondering if you could look down the line and say what kind of year something like that would manifest. Like, would it be dragon or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Dragon's a good year for oh, yeah. I actually think that if you look back at history and you see all the revolutions that have occurred starting in the rat year, you'll see a couple of year build up, and then you'll start seeing the middle of the cycle being where the revolution kind of like hits a peak, and you'll see it kind of die back down again. So you're going to see that same thing happening here. There's a couple of other parallels. I don't want to get too far into this one, but looking at like elections and things, I said something interesting, which I'm still waiting to see what happens, that some unusual things might happen in elections this year in many countries. And even the idea that we've got two competing governments working together in Israel is something to look at. It's like, that's weird. You know, that's unusual. expect to see something unusual in the US, for example. A lot of countries are going to see some unusual things happen in this election year. I'm not going to say much more than that, but it's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
Tell us more. We want to know more about
What?
this question, because there was a question.
I think of the fact that, for example, Joe Biden is already said he's going to pick a female vice presidential candidate as part of that unusual thing. It's like, oh, that's interesting, right? I mean, it's not the first time it's happened, obviously, because we had Geraldine Ferraro and we had Sarah Palin, but there's something interesting about that. You know, there's just interesting stuff's going to happen. And a lot of politicians should be very scared. I'm saying the ones who showed hypocrisy, the ones who have shown unethical behavior, they should be scared. They should be very scared. You're going to see a lot of up and comers getting voted in politics in all countries. This is not just the U.S., by the way. I read world news. I read like all different. I read the German Der Spiegel. I read stuff in New Zealand. I read world news. You know, because it happens everywhere. It's not just where I live. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah,
So if you have stuff to share still, I'll let you go. I want you to go through that. Let's get one more question, and then maybe you can wrap up and we revisit this year of the rat. We have Dilshad Ali. Can we have Dilshad unmuted, please?
Hi there. Thank you so much for doing this. It's awesome. It's very informative, and I'm really looking forward to taking your class next year. But anyways, my question is, what do you think about travel and tourism, the travel and tourism industry? Like when will it rebound? Because my girlfriend is in that space and she's like, ask.
I know.
So,
my son works for Alaska Airlines, so yeah, I get it. I have to say, you're going to see an opening up this summer of travel and tourism. I don't think it will, what am I going to say with this? I don't think it will rebound fully this year, but slowly I think we're going to see people doing things differently. I think we have to start looking at the airlines spacing seats apart and fixing their ventilation systems or things like that. I think companies that do that will actually get people to fly again. So we have to start seeing these companies adapt to what's happening in the world. So I think it'll come back, but flying in particular is metal. So I think people will start flying again some this year. But I don't know. I still think the industry is going to take a hit this year. I'm sorry to say. I think it's already taken a big hit. I think it'll still take overall a big hit. I'm sorry to say that. Sorry.
Sabina doesn't know how to raise her hand. So can somebody unmute Sabina Wilms? And
hi, Sabina. We're good friends.
Last time I was together with you two was Sabina. When
my house.
Lily says that she stores food at her house.
I showed him. I turned my entire laundry room into a pantry. Okay.
It reminded me when I was with my grandparents way back when I come visit, I couldn't leave without them. Take this. I
said, if you're my close friend, you have my Tupperware at your house. Yeah.
I know. So I just want to. Can you hear me?
Hi, sweetie.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
And see you.
Sabina, your cheeks look good. Yeah.
You know, I just want to share this really what's been happening where I live, and it's just been so beautiful, and people are so kind. And yesterday I had this day where out of nowhere I got gifted an old beehive out of nowhere.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then my friend came over and she's gifting me this goat that I've totally fallen in love with. And another friend is going to help me put this goat pen together. And then something else happened. And then I went for a swim at night and I stopped by on the way somewhere. And my neighbor, who is a marine biologist, told me, oh, you got to wait with your swim until it gets dark because of bioluminescence. And I waited down by the beach and I went swimming, and it's just like this water and metal. And I had this experience last night that was totally magical.
It was cosmic, and that's metal. It's
in
awesome.
This soup in these clouds of liquid starlight in dark ocean water.
There you go.
I just want to share this beauty. I mean, it just like, I just got home and I'm just like,
It's
There's so much
wonderful.
beauty going on at the same
There is.
time.
And metal is really about beauty. And so we're seeing, look how gifts are also metal. People are gifting each other. They're helping each other. There's some great stuff going on. And this is stuff that hasn't happened in a really, really long time. It usually happens in an emergency, right? And this is beautiful stuff. I mean, this is some of the best things that are happening out there. Thank you, Sabina, for that. 'Cause it's ending on a really good note. That there are these wonderful gifts this year. And I'm so grateful, for my friends, for my family, for the fact that I'm alive in these times, and that I'm actually living well, much better than I thought I was going to live. And I'm getting money bags. I'm getting help. My dark circles are going away. There's some great gifts in being yin right now, because there's so much yang going on out there, and that yang metal and yang water has actually got a lot to offer us this year. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So thank you for that, Sabina. That gratitude is beautiful, and the world is a beautiful place. So go out and enjoy nature. It's spring here. It's like, oh, it's so pretty. I go outside and look at the flower. I've been hanging out with my tree in the front yard, my pine tree.
It's so good to see her online. See, it's the technology year, because you said it's the year of technology online, and all the people that weren't comfortable with online are being forced to go online. So now they're going to get comfortable. So we're going to see more people like Sabina. And now you're
online.
Go on mute, by the way.
Yes, Sabina.
Now you're going to reach more people, and more people are going to read your books and transform lives because of that. So
it's wonderful. So please look at the gifts of this year, because there's so many. Okay, there's so many. So thank you so much. I mean, that's really all I have to say today. And I just want you all to know that we're living in interesting times, which is a Chinese curse, but interesting also means that we have an ability to transform, and transformation is a wonderful thing. Okay.
So we're going to open our mics in a minute. And when we open our mics, this is that idea of community, unity, immunity, where we get to send our love and gratitude to Lillian for coming on here. So
thanks.
And you get to also see each other and send love. It's chaos. I don't care.
A little fire for us. We have some fire.
We had 500 on at one time. Right now we have about 424 on live here, and we got a bunch on social media. And it's neat because your faces will start to appear as you're heard, as your voice gets picked up. And I sometimes close my eyes and I can recognize voices. Quick reminder that we have a whole bunch of more stuff happening on Healthy Seminars, these free resources. Keep checking the resources page, because we're going to keep adding stuff. Right now we're looking for experts on post-COVID, like how to set up your business and be successful, that stuff to support you, all the legalities and the safety stuff. So we're working on that, plus just more fun content for you guys. Lillian and CT Holman have amazing content on Healthy Seminars. They're on sale with the coupon Healthy25. We'll save you 25%. And I loved when I was hearing about raising the vibration. I was having some chat with Carolyn and a few other people.
Yeah.
We're going to do a meditation during my Conscious Tuesday talk tomorrow. And so for those of you that have been doing these group meditations, please come and bring that vibration, that energy, because we're going to spread that around. And it should be fun. It's fun for me. So hopefully it'll be fun for you guys. I know I'm going to have a good time. I've done this before this talk, so I'm looking forward to having you guys there. And let's now open up the mics and send our love to Lillian and to each other. So check out your images and just reconnect to your community, because we're physical distancing, but we can still have social solidarity. So let's reconnect right now, my tribe.
Thank you, Lillian. It was awesome. Some love.
Thanks, Lillian.
Okay, behind you or not?
This was wonderful. Thank you, Lauren.
So it's in your trash for your vibrancy, Lillian.
We'll leave it in your
See
trash
you
for the
tomorrow,
moment.
Lauren.
In case you want to undo it or something.
Love me.
Can you go to that
Thank you so much.
link that I sent you? Or, that I sent in the
Really
email.
good. I don't know if you realize how good you are. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Open. You know how you got. Go to your email and.
Everyone. Everybody. So much fun today. Thank you. And you're a gas.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Honey. Click.
So much.
Such a blessing.
Thank you.
See everybody. I want to thank Lillian again. I want to thank Sam and Lorianne for doing all this work to get this together for everybody. So thanks to my team, so we can keep having these resources, our community and unity immunity talks. Check out healthyseminars.com/resources. Every day we're adding new content. So check out the calendar. what's next. Wishing you guys all the best. Stay safe.
And stay happy. Okay, bye.